Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to celebrate the winter solstice in the north, the summer in the south, and also the beginning of cardinal quadrant 4. Western tropical astrology is based on the seasons, and this event takes us through the next 13 weeks to the 20th of March, when that journey begins again with the sun's arrival back in Aries. The sign of Capricorn and Capricorn season is very much about physical culmination. It can be to do with traditionality because the sole domiciliary ruler is Saturn, but it can also be to do with where we raise our profile and the determination, the steady persistence that the sign of Capricorn is very much about suggests that if not everything we have is within reach, if we just put our shoulders into the wind and are very determined, the next 13 weeks can bring a result. So we do have a backdrop energy of the sun making its way through Capricorn through to when the sun joins the sign of Aquarius on the 20th of January. And that immediate energy is what we're going to feel very strongly. But the quadrant energy is a little bit more subtle, but does go through to that Aries new beginning. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. Thank you so much for joining me. All your views, comments and likes are truly appreciated. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now and help it continue to thrive. But in appreciation of your support over the last year, if you order your personal forecast for year 2026 based on your unique birth data, you can get 50% off by applying at the checkout Astro26. You'll also get your Life Roadmap Report, a stunning document which helps us to understand the patterns that have played out in our lives so far and how we can work with those energies more shrewdly future forwards, and the combination of that and the transits from the forecast can help you to time your moves in the months ahead really well. You also get my free gift of your Zodiac, General, Love, Chinese and Indian Zodiac booklets. Please see below for more. So Capricorn season. And as the sun arrives back into the sign of Capricorn, I'm going to share with you how that looks from a zodiacal viewpoint, but also from a Placidus viewpoint. So what house is going to exemplify the activity of the sun through these next 4 and 13 weeks? I'll then go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, from Aries through to Pisces, which you can relate to in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. On the screen now is the event chart from a solar perspective, and there's the sun right at the top of the chart, and you can see Mars and also the moon are in Capricorn too. Now Mars loves being in Capricorn, it's exalted here, but the sun is in its 10th section of its journey, and it's a cardinal influence. So cardinality is very much about authority, leadership. And Capricorn energy can be to do with people who have got a lot of experience, knowledge and wisdom. There is a tendency to see Capricorn people as being somewhat dour. I think that's entirely unfair. Capricorns often can have a cracking sense of humour, maybe when younger a little shy, but certainly that sense of humour often shines through as they get older, and can even have something of a childlike energy the more confident they become. But as ever, we need to look at those other planetary influences, and Neptune calls out most of all, but also Saturn, the ruler of the sign of Capricorn, is in a square to the sun too. So initially, whatever we want in terms of those ambitions, goals and aims, we might not find things moving forwards quite at the speed we would like. And when it comes to relationships, also we need to be aware of the dispositor. Saturn is squaring off exactly to Venus. So relationships over this next month, we're going to need to work at them. And of course, the sign of Capricorn is very much about industry, where we really try our best. But through the month of January, we're going to have two very important Cazimis featuring the sun in the sign of Capricorn. First of all on the 6th with Venus, then again on the 9th with Capricorn. But we also have, of course, the full moon on the 3rd in the sign of Cancer, which is a challenge because the moon is at home in Cancer, but it is directly opposite Mars, which can be quite turbulent. So however much we may want to aspire to the things that are important to us in the material world, those more emotional energies are also calling out to us too through that full moon. In other words, we need to get our work-life balance just so. And we all know that despite all the technology that aids us these days, people seem to have less time than ever. Now, the other interesting thing about this particular Capricorn season is the arrival of Venus on the 24th of December into the sign of Capricorn too. But she, until then, is conflicted by Saturn and then runs into that dreamy Neptunian energy. So what are Saturn and Neptune in Pisces doing to that Capricornian energy? Well, I feel it can be stuff that's not quite in the open, maybe stuff we're not quite conscious of. It could be people who don't share our hopes for the future. So we need to just be conscious of what's not absolutely obvious. So however much we can use that Capricorn energy to plan carefully, to be diligent, to be industrious, that's all very well. But Saturn and Neptune are asking us to be very mindful of the more psychological dimension. Now I'm going to share with you now the event chart from a natal perspective. As ever, this is based on Greenwich and the prime meridian, not because I'm in the UK. The ascendant is in the bubbly Gemini. That's lovely, but you can see the position of the Sun and Mars and indeed Venus are all in the 7th house. So interesting, because of Venus about to enter into the sign of Capricorn and forging that beautiful alliance with the Sun on the 6th of January, we're being told that whatever type of relationships we're discussing, and in terms of this natal chart, Saturn and Neptune are in the sector of friendships, our network, our connections with people generally. We're going to need to work at it. But Mars in the 7th house can be quite rugged. In a way, it's good because it helps us to set our boundary. In other words, know when to say no. Because if we're too giving, we can dissipate our individuality, which actually isn't a good thing. But Venus is asking us to be a bit more delicate, diplomatic, but that could, in that square to Saturn, just show up some resistance, even perhaps some resentment or unfriendliness. So if there is a relationship that's bumping along the bottom of any type in the family, at work, with a friend, or more personally, we're really being encouraged to put the effort in. And one of the things with 7th house energy, which is really good, is we need to celebrate the things we have in common, not always be focused on what's not quite working so well. So that gives you a bit of a flavour of the two charts. From a zodiacal viewpoint, yes, Mars in Capricorn certainly brings an extra rigour and even energy to our desire to achieve whatever success or goals we've been working towards, but we also need to be mindful of the psychological dimension. And from the Placidus natal chart, where we need to work hardest is around our relationships. Now I'm going to go through each of the tile signs from Aries through to Pisces, but do know if you order your personal forecast for year 2026 now, you can get 50% off at the checkout by applying code ASTRO26. Please see below for more. So Aries, your Capricorn season this year and your month ahead forecast sees Mars, your ruler, right in the celestial mix. And that's really important because that's going to fire you up. Whatever it is you're feeling passionate about in terms of resetting your connection to the wider world. As you come into the new year, this gives you a lot more desire, but also a lot more assertion, which is really exciting. The challenge? Well, there could be some things linked to a current situation that's winding down, perhaps some sensitivities, maybe a relationship that's not worked out, that you're still working through, that could inhibit that clear path towards the summit, which is so important. But the other thing in terms of the really big picture, Aries, is that ever since Pluto ended that journey through the sign of Capricorn in November 2024, you may have been searching for just the right mix in terms of where to point your energy. And if you're not quite sure of that yet, I think the next month certainly gives you a chance to refine that, and because you are going to have the opportunity to use your drive, but also your people skills, your diplomacy in a very important way through to the end of the first and second weeks of January. There are some very major opportunities for you to make an impact on some important and notable people. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Taurus, for you, this can be a very exciting Capricorn season, not least because Venus, your ruler, is going to join up with the Sun, but also the punch of Mars from the 24th of December. Through the last week of 2025, you can find yourself wanting to be more spontaneous, perhaps travelling off somewhere last minute, even overseas, whether it's for snow or for sun. That spontaneity, that whole concept of variety being the spice of life, can really give you quite a bounce. But in all parts of your existence, but particularly work, I think you're wanting extra stimulation. And if you do head in a new direction as you go into January, I think it can really give you a huge amount of extra enthusiasm. But ironically, you're the zodiac sign that most appreciates stability. But Uranus has been challenging that over the last 7 years. And also Pluto since 2008 has been very provocative too. So you've already gone outside your comfort zone on many occasions during that period. And if you still feel a little unsure and perhaps not quite clear on what you need to liberate yourself from, one of the clues that I could tell you, maybe certain friends or associations which are not necessarily bad people, but may in some subtle way just stop you from really just going full bore on being much more off the cuff. Because once we do step into that unknown, it actually can be truly exhilarating. And you're very canny. There's always going to be a part of your existence that you are keeping steady and consistent. So you don't need to go absolutely all out. There can just be parts of you that try something different, whether it's around work, interests, whether it's around your social situation or around those travel opportunities. So a really bubbly 4 weeks is ahead for you. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Gemini, your Capricorn season is always a time of transformation because of the 8th house energy of the Sun. Put Venus and Mars in the mix and things get a lot more passionate. If there is someone that you encounter over the festivities, if you're footloose and fancy free, don't be surprised if there is a very large connection between you, and that could get seriously exciting and even spicy by the end of the first week of January. But if you're wanting to evolve more around your long-term financial planning, or it is around a business idea, or being cannier around squeezing more from your long-term resources, all of those can show up too. But 8th house energy can be where we're transforming, and sometimes that can mean letting go of what no longer serves our greater good and evolving into something fresh and new. So it's very evolutionary. So if there's anything in your world that is shifting in a very powerful way, whether it is a big relationship, whether it is around your work, whether it is around certain connections, and you're not quite sure what the outcome will be, what I can absolutely guarantee is that by the last week of January, you will be much clearer about what's really important for you, and you will feel a lot more liberated by then. And whatever you're working on now that may seem complex, unsure, or very charged in terms of intimacy, you will know by then, by the 20th of January, much more where you stand, and particularly when your ruler Mercury forges Cazimi with the Sun on the 21st, and clarity will emerge by that time. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro 26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Cancer, your Capricorn season is going to be very much about relationships, but the most important relationship we all have is with ourselves. You can be giving, you can be sacrificing, and you can be very intuitive towards other people's needs. If that hasn't felt appreciated at times, with the Sun returning to Capricorn but joining up with the fierce Mars gives you an opportunity through to the 23rd of January to firm up your boundaries, to be a bit more robust about what you will or will not accept. But with Venus arriving on the 24th, she brings a more subtle, a more harmonizing vibe, and really encourages us all to celebrate the things we have in common, not focus on what makes us different. But if you like, Mars is the steel fist inside the velvet glove of Venus. Now they're going to be joined on the 1st of January by Mercury, which is brilliant for sharpening up listening skills. And then through that first 2 weeks of January, we're going to have two critical Cazimis. The first on the 6th is Venus conjunct the Sun. The second on the 9th is Mars conjunct the Sun, but Venus and Mars are also in a glorious alliance on the 8th. Now there is the full moon in your zodiac sign on the 3rd, and that will bring into the open, particularly with the moon in an opposition to Mars, any situation where you're not happy, you don't feel respected. It could be with a colleague, a line manager, a family member, a friend, a neighbour. It doesn't have to be in an intimate context. But what you're looking for is an equilibrium between your efforts and sincerity, where you're given to a situation. If you feel seen and heard, you're going to be more than happy. If that's not the case, that's where you're going to be active, because there is a part of your nature when there is conflict which can see you withdraw. But the problem with withdrawal, it doesn't solve anything. It just leaves the energy hanging, and also that energy is still within us. So you have an opportunity really to engage, and that may be by being more combative, more competitive at work. It may be by having the confidence really to go on the front foot and say exactly how you feel to whoever needs to hear your message. But if you are footloose and fancy free and you would like to have a relationship, I actually feel that 2026 could prove to be particularly significant for you in a positive way. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro 26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report. Incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, Capricorn season for you this year is going to see Venus joining up with Mars and the Sun, and then Mercury from the 1st of January. So I feel that you're going to be particularly motivated to make some changes, small but important changes to your everyday life structure, maybe your diet, exercise regime, how much sleep you get, because a little bit more virtue targeted in the right directions can actually give you a lot more energy and vitality to enjoy year 2026. But I think as you go into the new year, I know a lot of people do make New Year's resolutions which don't really last very long, but I feel your determination can be emboldened, particularly through January. But if there is a more psychological domain, to do with stress or feeling anxious, that will show up through the full moon of the 3rd of January and will provide a backdrop for the following 2 weeks. Also the planet, which is very much to do with our welfare, Chiron, that ends a retrograde on the 2nd of the month in the part of your situation to do with knowledge, but it is squaring off to Jupiter in your 12th house. If there is more to download when it comes to understanding your inner world, your more psychological well-being, do embrace that, because that's going to help you to feel much more vigorous and energized in a physical context too. But the 6th house can be about our appreciation of small animals. Is a new furry friend heading your way in January? I think it's possible. Or you may find yourself wanting to move into a job which gives you much more personal satisfaction, and a job that can help other people too. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report. Incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. Virgo, your Capricorn season this year is particularly exciting. Initially, your ruler Mercury is challenged by the dreamy drifting energies of Neptune, and you also have Venus initially in the tender 4th house along with Mercury. So it may not seem with this event straight away that things are sparkling into life, but the last week of year 2025 can see you feel much more in the mood to connect, to interact, to mix and mingle, and you may have a surprisingly playful time. Once Mercury, your ruler, joins up with your 5th house on the 1st of January, you're really entering into the new year with a lot more traction. And the 5th house is where we manifest our talents, our joy, our flair, our creativity. If you're wanting perhaps to have more of a romantic dimension to your life in 2026, the portents look good as well. But it's all about going with the flow and having the confidence to step outside some of that more ordered metronomic routine that can give you a sense of safety and structure, but at times can pulverize your passion. So think of the things that are really important to you, whether it's crafting, whether it is a friendship that you find fun and inspiring, whether it is the arts, whether it's watching bands, going to movies, whatever feeds your soul is what you should be looking out for as you enter in and process through this particular Capricorn season, which has some marvellous opportunities for you, particularly on the 6th and the 9th of January, with 2 very powerful Cazimis pushing you to have more confidence in your social interaction and attractiveness and allure from a romantic viewpoint. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Libra, your Capricorn season this year is flavoured strongly by Venus, your ruler, but also Mars. Venus gives you a huge appreciation of home comforts, whether it is to do with soft furnishings, or it is to do with the fabrics you use, or the colour of your decoration. And Mars can bring a sense of urgency if there's something around your home or home life which isn't quite working. With Mercury joining them on the 1st of January, if you do work at times from home or would like to start a business from the comfort of your abode, those are all very positive portents as you come into the new year. Because what you're seeking most of all, Libra, is a sense of physical and emotional security. You're an air sign, so therefore your intellect and finding that balance and your relationships are often at the centre of your focus. But I feel that you need to be much more mindful of what you're needing. Because if we go back to 2008, when Pluto pitched up into Capricorn for the longer term after its initial sojourn, it has since then, until it left in November 2024, been at times a fairly turbulent process, because Pluto can take out of our lives things that no longer work for us, but we don't always know it at the time. Or we may know that they're difficult things, like the imperfect relationship that does have qualities. And that may have left you a little raw, but now you get a chance to remold your inner world in your personal image. And right through to the 1st of January, you may be surprised by how much your situation does move forwards in a way which is very nurturing and nourishing to you at the very heart of your being in the most positive of ways. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. Scorpio, your Capricorn season this year is strongly coloured by your traditional ruler of Mars, which brings a sense of spark and thrust around everyday communications. Venus brings charm from the 24th. Mercury brings a sharper mindset from the 1st. Also, there's two Cazimis across the 6th and the 9th of January, which are sparkling for you too. When you speak, other people can really listen. You can share your ideas with conviction, but also with passion. There is a full moon on the 3rd, however, and if you are discussing anything to do with travel, you will need to make sure that you're not rushing it, because that actually could lead to some kind of glitch. But if you consider new technology, often people do in the sales, whether it's a new TV or computer or personal device, not a surprise. But most of all, I just feel a sense of personal enthusiasm around your ideas. And therefore, if you've got something you want to share with people, you can do so with an extra pizzazz, veracity and excitement, and all of that sees you enter into the new year in the most sparkling way. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. Sagittarius, your Capricorn season is very much about resources, your self-worth, everyday money. earthier considerations. Initially, you may find the festive fare a little bit hard to resist, and that's because of Venus joining up with the Sun and Mars on the 24th. But Mercury moving out of your sign on the 1st and into Capricorn will give you an added intellectual bite when it comes to analysing the potential for any ideas you've got to increase your income. And that potential to gain traction in that area is definitely enhanced as you go into the new month. The challenge could be in week 2 with Jupiter, your ruler, in an opposition with the Sun, and also Mars in an opposition with the full moon, that you could be perhaps a little bit too impetuous with your resources and splash out freely if you can afford it. If you are considering a big ticket item, it's probably best to slow things down and really check out whether it has a practical benefit as well as an aesthetic benefit to you, and that way you could avoid a strong case of buyer's remorse. But also it's a great opportunity for you to feel better about your value and be passionate about that. And we can't demand people respect us, but we can certainly focus on not necessarily giving away our power, whether it is through getting too caught up in the material world, but just in terms of setting your intentions, visualize your absolute worth, and that's a great way to storm into the new year. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. Capricorn, your Capricorn season this year is particularly exciting. Venus joins your sign on the 24th, joining up with Mars and the Sun, Mercury on the 1st. You have a stunning new moon on the 18th of January, which is forging a brilliant link to your ruler Saturn. Whatever you're thinking about or talking about that's to do with activating your individual talents can really be shaping up fabulously well by then. Also, there's 2 Cazimis early in the month, which means when it comes to your personal sense of attractiveness, your uniqueness, if you give yourself some kind of dynamic makeover early in 26, it's going to give you a lot of uplift in terms of your confidence. But whether it's your unique ideas or your leadership skills, which are often very strong, you can take centre stage as you burst into this new year. Will it be a perfect process? No. You have Jupiter opposite the Sun through week 2. You also have the full moon on the 3rd, which is opposite Mars in your sign. That could create some turbulence if someone close to you feels a bit pushed out, slighted, feels you're focusing too much on what's important to you. But if you can work with their concerns, be inclusive with them and explain what you're trying to do carefully, there's a much greater chance you can get their support. But in short, this is a time when your desires can be turned to furnace hot, but you can use a lot of charm in order to attain your goals as well. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. Aquarius, your Capricorn season points to a more psychological but also healing potential. If you're someone who's very interested in personal development or to do with natural methods of working on your health, this is a brilliant opportunity for you to gain more information. But there may be times when you don't want to join in once we go into the new year in the way that ordinarily people would expect you would. And if that is the case, don't beat yourself up. That will start to change from the 17th of January. There is going to be some real opportunity for connection, but it may be quiet, confidential connections. For example, if you've ever thought about having some counselling, whether you would like to learn more about personal development or some healing modalities, those things can fascinate you. Having some time out or being in nature or by water can also be very good for your spirits, but your physical vitality may be a little lower. And if a relationship matter hasn't been working quite so well, I think that can come sharply into focus on the full moon of the 3rd and the 2 weeks leading up to when the sun returns to your sign. But just know, if you do feel that people aren't in touch, or you're feeling much more vulnerable or sensitive or raw, by the time we get to the 20th of January, Venus will be back in your sign, the sun joins you, Mercury too. We have a 3rd cazimi with Mercury and the Sun on the 21st. Then Mars joins you on the 23rd, and we have a Sun-Pluto cazimi. You're going to burst out of this lull in the most dynamic and incredibly powerful of ways. So a period of pause, but it's going to be very valuable pause for you, Aquarius. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more. So Pisces, with Venus joining up with Mars and the Sun and Mercury, as you make your way into the new year, that gives you a great opportunity to think about your long-term planning, your connections to others, your network, but also in the last week of this year, you could have a much more social and jolly time than you might be expecting. Because Saturn and Neptune, although you've had Neptune, your ruler, in your sign full time, apart from last or this year's 6-month sojourn into Aries, through those years, Saturn over the last couple of years has probably proved to be quite challenging at times in terms of vitality. But what you get now is a chance to connect to people with what you've learned. And you're not the same person you were 2 years ago. And the people you'll want to connect with won't be the same either, unless they are really good citizens and really have been with you through the process. So don't be surprised if there's going to be some invitations, some connections that sparkle, some new opportunities. You might find yourself with a little bit of a choice over a love matter around the full moon of the 3rd. Maybe 2 people are drawn to you, and in a friendship dimension, there may be one friend there or a friend of a friend who becomes much more important in your situation, if not romantically, certainly as a very trusted alliance. So there's lots to look forward to with this particular Capricorn season for you, Pisces. You can order your year 2026 personal forecast based on your unique birth data and get 50% off by applying Astro26 at the checkout. You'll also get your life roadmap report, incredibly important to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and your free gift of your general love Chinese and Indian zodiac forecast booklets for 2026. Please see the link below for more.